is going over the pre-show air.
Okay. We're all set. We can start.
Wait a minute. What's this we're all set stuff?
I meant we're all set.
Oh, okay. All right. That was confusing.
Well, I know we usually have 10 things to do before we can go on the air, but for once we don't.
I'm glad you clarified that.
Okay. Thank you, Richard.
Twitch has accepted the stream. YouTube has accepted the stream. Waiting for Facebook. Facebook has accepted the stream. Okay, do you like the way I got the window set up?
Yes.
Okay. When the timer says on the air, you're on the air, okay?
Okay. Ooh. Welcome to the Oracle of Enlightenment Vortex. I'm the observer, Sal Monaco, along with the lovely Miss Terry Bronstein. Who's co-hosting tonight. How are you, Terry?
Doing fine. I'm doing great. How are you, Sal?
Pretty good. I had a nice Easter.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Anything special that you did?
Yeah, I went to 3 different places for 3 different meals.
Oh, my goodness. In one day.
Mm-hmm.
Quite interesting.
And they were all good.
I only went to one meal. My son cooked and his friend cooked. So,
Yeah, and I played some games and, had a really good holiday.
Oh, good.
And joining us tonight for the first time, the very lovely Miss Wynn. How are you, Wynn?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. You want to give your regular name?
Alyssa?
Alyssa what?
Dosboy.
Dos Boy?
Yes.
Okay. Again, had trouble pronouncing it. So, Wynn just joined us about a week ago, and she has taken over the role of Marilyn Larrabee, which has been vacant for a while. And we're very happy to have you on the team.
I'm glad to be here.
How did you enjoy your first day of shooting?
I loved every second of it.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And how do you feel about the character of Marilyn Larrabee?
I think I'm getting a good feel for her. Like we were discussing earlier, just her coming out of her shell. And
yeah, because in the pilot short, she was dealing with an abusive boyfriend, a verbally abusive father, and an agent that was, shall we say, taking advantage of her.
Yes.
And I think to this day that pilot short, 17 and a half minutes, still remains a great film. It was what started, except for the promo film, it was what started the whole Beyond the Mainstream craze. And then we had the feature film, and now we've had the audio series, and now we have the web series. So
that's awesome.
Sal, can you tell us a little bit about that film that you're working on?
Oh, the one now?
Yes.
Oh. Well, we're working on a couple of short films for upcoming season of festivals and contests. We're doing PJs Are Us, which is the first starring vehicle for Wynn, and Terry's also in it, playing her role of Miss Ruth, who at this point has no background story, so I think Terry's got some ideas about how to flesh it out.
Yeah, definitely. Always have ideas. They're always there.
And for anyone who doesn't remember, Terry was the talking proud lady from the 70s.
Oh, actually, the early 80s, Sal.
Okay.
80, 81, 82.
That always stayed in your head when you saw it. When you'd walk out and say, Buffalo's got a spirit, talking
It's
proud,
stuck.
talking proud. Yeah, it's stuck. You know, to this day, it sticks.
It was
you
a
know?
campaign to get the people of Buffalo talking proud about the city they live in and believe in.
Mm-hmm.
And it took off like a rocket.
Yeah. And how long did it take to shoot the commercials?
Well, we shot in 2 days. There were 2 commercials.
2 commercials,
yes.
2 days. Okay.
2 days, yes. And one was in downtown Buffalo and one was at Canal Side.
Mm.
And
Very
we had
cool.
local people join in. It was a wonderful event.
Yes. So PJs R Us is basically a pajama party that's going to kickstart the next film, which will be called The Biggest Geek. We're going to be making a series of shorts that are going to be tied into a feature. Yesterday at our meeting of the Buffalo Film Academy, Terry and I witnessed a 5-part web series that had been tied into a prequel short film, and I found it to be interesting. What did you think?
It's okay. I mean, you know, I didn't catch a lot of what was going on, but
Yeah, I thought it was pretty
the effort
good.
that was put into it was good.
Yeah,
You can
and-
tell he put a lot of effort into it, creativity.
And Lynn Lowry being in it.
Yeah.
And, yeah. So we'll be looking forward to Mind Flip. Unfortunately, the producer or director couldn't be with us tonight, but hopefully he'll be on a future show. And that was the prelude to the feature film, which will be coming out as soon as they can finish it and get it distributed.
I like that name too, Blind Flip.
Mind Flip.
Mind Flip.
Yeah.
Really great name.
Yeah.
Very creative.
Somebody named Nick's World says, "Am I late?" No, you're not. We just started 6 minutes ago.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, "If you all want some jokes, I'll find some." Okay, Nick, send us some jokes.
Yeah, let's use a few of them.
Yeah. So, Wynn, why don't you start off by telling us your acting background?
I started in church and then in elementary school, middle school, high school. I got involved in drama, show choir, singing and dancing. And then after high school, I did, well, actually, in middle school, I had a really great reading teacher who allowed me to write skits and make puppets, and so I did my own little puppet show. So I was writing scripts and stuff from a while ago. And then after high school, I joined this little group in Tennessee that would make some parody shows, and but other than some local stuff, that's about it.
Mm-hmm. Parody shows?
Yeah, like The Walking Dead when it first came out. We would do a funny version of that episode.
Yes. Yeah, we've had a couple members of The Walking Dead on the show.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. Chandler Riggs, who played Carl.
Yeah.
Chandler, if you're listening, it was good seeing you last year, and we hope to have you on the show again soon. So you just moved to the area?
I did 3 weeks ago.
Oh, wow. That's great.
Yeah.
And you were from PA?
I was born in PA, but I ended up in West Virginia for the last 24 years.
Mm.
Yeah.
West Virginia. Well,
Yes.
you must have had the warm weather to deal with.
Sure.
So how are you dealing with this cold then?
Well, I mean, PA's not that far away, and that's where I grew
It's
up
cold,
at. So yeah, it's cold too
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
Okay.
And we walked our 10 miles to school and shoveled out our way.
Yeah. Yeah, those of us who had to walk to school in the snow.
Yeah.
Do you sing?
I did whenever I was in high school, but being a mother for the last 15 years, I really, didn't have many side gigs of that.
So what do you enjoy the most? Acting, singing, musicals, straight plays?
All of it, honestly. Like, it's all art. It's all wonderful. It's all everyone's different versions of how life is. It's all great.
Comedy, straight drama?
Yeah. If you have trauma, you can do comedy.
Right.
Yep. I write some good comedy, but I have a lot of trouble sometimes acting out comedy. I'm better at drama.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm getting better. So you do sing because you know your character is a singer.
Yes.
She's a new age singer.
Yes.
Do you belt? Are you a belter, soprano, alto?
Alto, for
Oh,
sure.
wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Only in the car do I pretend that I'm a soprano.
Oh, really? I do that in the kitchen. Yeah, definitely. Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it was like that episode of Sliders where they thought John Rhys Davies' character was actually Luciano Pavarotti, and Jerry O'Connell says to him, "I didn't know you sang opera," and he goes, "Only in the shower, my boy." And then when they called him, when the clerk at the hotel called him Luciano Pavarotti, he goes, Luciano Pavarotti is Italian. He talks like this. I don't talk like this. And you know why I don't talk like this? Because I'm an Englishman, you boob. Speaking of jokes, Nick's World gave us one. Let's see.
Okay.
Well, here's one. What's the worst thing the Flintstones could do? A pillow fight? Get it? And I'm chasing the dreams of doing puppetry full time with a good play in Europe, especially Wales, UK. No, I don't get the pillow fight thing. So, thanks anyway, Nick. So how much of Marilyn do you think is in you as your personality?
All of it. I have some similar background traits going on there, and so also as my kids are getting older, I can be more myself. So I have that going on with Marilyn. So
That's good.
Are
Yeah.
your children into acting also?
no,
No?
no.
How old are they?
13 and 14.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, so it must be weird jumping into all this after only being here for 3 weeks.
I've been ready for it. I knew I wanted to do this when I was 5 years old after watching Wizard of Oz in my living room. Right after that, I knew. And it just took me this long to get here. So I'm just excited about every opportunity.
So with the
Yeah.
stage experience you have, tell us your most exciting moment on stage. One
Probab-
moment you'll never forget.
In show choir in middle school when we were doing the singing and dancing, it was, we were doing the bebop era.
Oh.
And like, my mom had made the Purple People Eater outfit and all the poodle skirts and all that stuff. And the group of girls that we had was just great. We all meshed together, and it was just a great show. And it was something that our school really didn't have before. So, and it was well received. So,
Oh, nice.
hmm
I like anything with the 50s and bebop and all that.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
It
Yes.
never got old.
you can never not tap your foot or
Right.
to that stuff.
And it never got old. It always stayed very, very light and made people smile,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, each decade of the 20th century had something going for it.
Yep.
Oh, Nick just sent something else in. If that joke doesn't work, here's this one. People in Dubai don't like the Flintstones because I know people in Abba Dabba Do.
That's
Okay, that one at least makes sense, but it's not funny. Anyway, and everyone knows that my number one cosplay is Fred Flintstone, and when I'm at certain conventions, I can't walk 5 feet without somebody wanting to take a picture of me. And that's the only cosplay I have that people do that. Otherwise, I usually get 1, 2, maybe 3 but with Fred Flintstone, it's always a ton.
my favorite one was Popeye. I enjoyed the Popeye shows.
Oh, mm-hmm.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
Road Runner and
Yeah.
Mickey
Bugs
Mouse.
Bunny, yeah.
Yeah.
Roadrunner actually had his own TV show, but it didn't go.
I love that
It
cartoon.
didn't go beyond the pilot, so they cut up the pilot and made 3 cartoons out of it,
Oh.
which is in syndication now, I believe. Popeye has had an interesting history. The original comics were actually called Thumble in Theater, and it was the adventures of Olive Oil and her family, including her brother Castor
Really?
Oil and all. And she had a boyfriend named Ham Gravy, and he had a big beard and mustache and everything. And
That makes sense for Olive Oil.
Yeah, but then they decided they wanted to give her a new boyfriend, and Popeye the Sailor was brought in, and his character took off so much that he was added to the strip, and it became Popeye the Sailor. And most of Olive Oil's characters got pushed to the background, and then Bluto was brought in as his frenemy kind of thing. Kind of the two of them are kind of like Tom and Jerry. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they're friends, sometimes they beat each other up, and sometimes they want to kill each other. But they're fighting over Olive Oil, and let's face it, Olive Oil is not that big a catch. I mean, not just her looks, but she's very fickle and very
Skinny.
Yeah, but she's always got them doing hoops, jumping through hoops to get her affection, and then there are times when she leaves them to be with somebody else, and it just, I wouldn't, I mean, it worked for the cartoons at the time, but now I'm not sure how that's actually going to go, but Popeye was brought to animation by, I believe it was the Flasher Studio. They actually put him in a theatrical short with Betty Boop.
Oh, gosh.
And that was the first animated appearance of Popeye the Sailor. And again, it took off, so they started making the Popeye shorts. And the focus was on Popeye, Olive Oil, Bluto, J. Wellington Wimpy, and then Sweet Pea was introduced, and a lot of the other characters got maybe one appearance, like Giesel or Mama Oil or Grandma Oil. I don't even think we saw Castor Oil in the cartoons. I don't think we saw him till the movie. As far as I know, there's only been one movie of Popeye, and that was Robin Williams playing Popeye, Shelley Duvall playing Olive Oil, and Pappy was played by Ray Walston. Mm-hmm. Let's face it, that film was it was bad. It was very bad.
I like that Betty Boop character.
Yeah.
I had a two-man show, and I used to do her character and sing her songs and dress up and look like her.
Right.
It was a very exciting time, and people loved her. Of all ages, they just took right to her. Mm-hmm. I want to be loved by you. I'd go around and sit on people's laps and
very cool.
Have the women sing with me, and it was a dance with the men. It was really a good time to, explore the character of Betty Boop.
Yeah, MeTV's been showing their cartoons on their morning show, Tune In With Me, and on Saturday morning cartoons, and I've been getting to see them, and they're actually very good. They're very well written and very well done. I was just, and Popeye, of course, has his own show as well as making appearances on the morning show. He starts off Saturday morning at 7 o'clock, although they cut him back to a half hour. But, what they're showing now are the theatrical shorts, which went, I think, from the late 30s to the late 60s. And the theatrical shorts. Then they made the TV series where something happened with Bluto's rights, and so they introduced Bluto's twin brother, Brutus.
Yeah.
And then they've had numerous animated TV shows since then. and he's appeared here and there, even in commercials. I think he did a commercial once for Canada Dry Ginger Ale, which I thought was great. And during the first TV series, they added another character called Rough House, who was the guy who worked the diner. So,
Tell me, Sal, out of all your experiences with directing, what is your favorite directorial debut? What did you just love the most directing? With the finished product, and tell us a little bit
I'd
about
have
that.
to say the Beyond the Mainstream, the movie, and Life of a New Age Singer. They were originally one movie, but we decided to take all the footage of the Larrabees out and make the short film and have it introduce and be the pilot for the web series. And I, to this day, am happy with the tightness of the story and the characters, and I wish the tech was better, because that's what kind of weakened us and kept us from getting a distribution. But I really enjoyed directing those two things. I also really liked episode 20, which was zombie fun. That one was a lot of fun. I mean, it just was. And I think we're gonna try and make a more polished version of it. And it was the first thing that really got us into what the story was about, so because it was the first besides the Halloween special, which was an experiment, it was the first time people were seeing the series outside of the movies, and the audio plays, and and I'm very happy with that. I believe we're on episode 26 now. So
At what point in your life did you figure, this is what I want to do? I want to be a part of this film and theater. And
when
how old
I
were
was
you?
very young, I mean, I was like, from the day I was born, I was, I didn't really have any friends who were creative types. All my friends at the time were, as I like to call them in the show, alts.
Sure.
I didn't have any alt friends back when I was growing up. They were all mundanes, and all they cared about was football and sports and all that kind of stuff. And so I'd be watching TV while the others were outside playing sports, and I'd get mad if I couldn't see TV. And my family and my schoolmates and everybody abused me quite a bit because of it. And when I said one day I wanted to be a director, they would give me the "yeah, right, no, that's never going to happen, blah 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 blah." And that happened right up until the time I started getting involved in the actual film community. People were saying, "Oh, you don't have the money, you don't have this, you don't have that," and I'm like, well, guess what? I made a feature film and a short for $400,
Oh,
and
my
it's
goodness.
good,
That's terrific.
because I love going to festivals and hearing people say, "I did this on a micro budget." Really? How much? $75,000?
Oh my goodness, yeah.
And you heard them last night when Ken said that he asked somebody to help him with a film, and they said, "What's your budget?" And he said $500,000, and the other guy said, "I don't touch anything less than $5 million." And I'm like, Terminator 2 cost $100 million, and we could have made 90 movies with that. And they spent $200 on Arnold's sunglasses, and it took 7 takes of Robert stepping on Arnold's glasses and breaking them. So that's $1,400 that were spent just on sunglasses and one scene where Robert Patrick steps on them. Now, you want to talk about waste.
I know.
And that was in the 90s. Oh, wait, he just sent in a couple more things. I don't know who Nick's World is, but... Well, here's something of total drama, which is Canadian. Why do the ferocious trouts always win? Their leader is a fissionary. Okay, that one was pretty good. Total Drama is an animated reality show hosted by the made-up character Chris McLean in the island. Yeah, we've had him on the show before, and he's a wonderful guy, good friend. And the last one is, well, Happy Earth Day. I've been watching Octonauts to celebrate, and it's a show I grew up with, and the show is from the UK. Well, Nick, the UK, especially London, England, always brings us great shows. You know how many great shows on American TV were based on a British show? I mean, All in the Family, Sanford and Son, Being Human, Ghosts, So, and we've tried to duplicate some of their better ones and haven't succeeded. Like Doctor Who, the American TV movie was not exactly the best. And it wasn't Paul McGann's fault. He's a great doctor. I'm the usual viewer of For the Love of Puppets here on this radio station. Okay. I really should watch that show. I've heard it's good. And twice they tried to duplicate Red Dwarf, even went as far as to get one of the British actors to come and be in the American version, but it didn't work. And they even got Terry Farrell to be in the second one, and it still didn't work. So, a lot of great... And Fawlty Towers, one of the greatest sitcoms of all. They've tried 4 times here in America to make an American version, and none of them have been any good. The latest one survived on its own, but not as a Fawlty Tower clone. The John Larroquette show. And everyone knows John Larroquette as Dan from Dan Fielding from Night Court, and he was Maltz, the Klingon in Star Trek III: The Search for Spock. Mm-hmm. And to answer your question before, to finish answering your question before, I did some directing on theater, and I've been doing, radio and podcast for 25 years now. And I just feel like directing movies and shorts and webisodes is what I enjoy the most. Not saying I don't enjoy theater, and I'm not saying I don't enjoy audio, and being a journalist, but no matter what you do, you have to deal with the pratfalls of it. I mean, being a web journalist is hard now because it seems like you literally have to get a signed waiver just to take a picture nowadays.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I'm sure movies in the early 30s, 40s, and the budgets were very low because they didn't have what we have today. Do you think producing and getting involved with all these special effects has raised the budget for film?
Oh, yeah.
With all of it.
I mean,
totally.
In 1992, Terminator 2 was $100 million, and it was, at the time, the most expensive movie ever made. And then Arnold's other movie, Last Action Hero, was $125 million. And then Kevin Costner did Waterworld, and that was $175 million. And then John Cameron did Titanic, and it was $200 million. And then
it's all the special effects.
Mm-hmm.
And then we moved up to Avatar, and I don't recall exactly how much that was, but but for what you could do back then and what you can do now, You know, part of it is the makeup situation. I mean, CGI has rendered makeup almost you know, no longer needed because you know, we don't have to go through the trouble. Like, take Planet of the Apes, for example. In the original Planet of the Apes movies and TV show, all the apes were makeup. And they all wore clothing or some kind of clothing. And there was some really tough makeup done. Roddy McDowell said he even drove home one time in one of the masks and he scared somebody in the next car or something. Whereas the Planet of the Apes movies that are being made now are strictly CGI. And even though the apes talk and think, they're naked. So, part of the problem with that is if you're acting opposite a CGI and not opposite an actor in makeup, you're not gonna. I personally don't think you're gonna give as good of a performance as you would if you were actually, you know, talking to someone. You know, like in the original Star Wars, Harrison Ford has a conversation. Is supposed to be having a conversation with Jabba the Hutt. But they got one of the other actors who was playing one of the other characters to come and stand in for him, and he could talk to him, and the other guy was giving him the lines, and then George was going to go back and put in a puppet or a claymation or something, but he never ended up doing that. He cut the scene. But when he did the special edition, he put the scene back in, and he CGI'd a real Jabba the Hutt in there. Now, with Harrison of how many years ago, you think he would have given such a performance if there hadn't been somebody there exchanging dialogue with him? I mean, I mean, knowing Harrison,
He might have been able to.
yeah, but I mean, it was one of his first big films. I mean, but I'm sure he enjoyed the fact that that person was there with him rather than having to constantly talk to nothing, or in some cases talk. I've been told sometimes they put a ball on a stick and you're looking at a tennis ball on a stick or something, or they hang something from the ceiling or something like that. And, you know, the biggest problem with that scene was that if you look at Jabba in the special edition, you look at him in the original Return of the Jedi, there's a big height difference. He's like as tall as Harrison in the special edition, but by the time we get to the other movie, which was done in 1983, he's, you know, really huge.
Yeah.
So he must have eaten a lot of frogs in between those two.
Well, what amazes me are these werewolf movies.
Yeah.
Years ago, they were just so, you know, fake. Now you see them and they're so realistic.
Yeah.
And you started to see the progression as we went along with these werewolf movies and these
Yeah.
Frankenstein movies.
Yeah, that was something else. Back then, you didn't have fancy special effects, and you had makeup that, you know, wasn't always convincing, but people had to compensate with it with good acting.
Yes.
Nowadays, a lot of actors stumble over their acting because there's so much special effects and so much fancy makeup when it is used and such. A lot of makeup artists are only doing old age makeup and in some cases independent films. But, you know, the days of them doing makeup for big budget films are no more. But even when they were doing a movie that was completely and utterly ridiculous, by today's standards, and probably even by then, their standards, they somehow pulled it off because they immersed themselves in the make-believe and did good acting. You know, that you don't always get that nowadays, unfortunately. I mean, anybody and their brother can be an actor now, and people use reality TV and stuff like that to get into the business, and so, you know, you don't have the dedication to acting that you had back then, because you've got a much bigger pool and you know it's a lot easier. Like back then you used to be under contract to a studio. They had to put you in something, even if it was a B or C rated picture, and you couldn't go work for another studio. You know, nowadays actors are independent contractors. They can work for whoever's, you know, offering the most money or the best role. So nobody, you know, the days of loyalty to a company, you know, are pretty much gone.
Yeah.
And that goes even down to our level, because how many times have I had people walk out at me because they've been offered better roles by, you know, people who had more money, and or they've considered my projects to be beneath them. You know, it happens. I mean, people get egos. People, you know.
What I'd like to ask you is, why do some movies, they never age? In other words, I could watch The Wizard of Oz over and over again. Cycle. How many times do people watch Cycle? Over and over, and it's like you never get bored with
Right.
it. What is it that made those so special in that aspect? And now some you watch a movie and you don't care if you ever see it again, you know?
Yeah. For
What
every
is
one
it?
of those, you get 20 or 30 of the other. Basically because it was perfectly done to the point where, like, take The Wizard of Oz, for example. It went through more trouble than you could imagine. I mean, with Margaret Hamilton getting burned and a lot of issues, you know, Judy Garland was being slapped by by the director, and she was only allowed to eat soup, coffee, smoked cigarettes, and I think hot lemon juice, because they wanted her to stay thin. They had to tie her down in front so that you didn't see that she actually had, you know, so... and then look what happened to Buddy Ebsen. He was playing the Tin Man, and he got such a bad allergic to the makeup that he had to be pulled out. So I mean, there was that film was one disaster after another when it was being made, but the final project wound up being amazing. I mean, it was a good medley of writing, acting, music, costumes, sets. I mean, everything melded together. It flowed good, and the act and everything worked together. They shouldn't have taken out, in my opinion, they shouldn't have taken out the dance number with the scarecrow, and they probably shouldn't have taken out the jitterbug scene either. But as it is, it's just, you know, it's so good that you can keep watching it over and over again. Like I mentioned Red Dwarf earlier. Red Dwarf, they've been making seasons of Red Dwarf for decades. You know, they stop for a little while, make another season, stop for a little while. And they only make 6 episodes at a time. Sometimes 8, sometimes 10. But these episodes are so good that you could watch them over and over and over again, and they're still good. You know, you've got such great actors, such great material. So, you know.
But then you get something like Jaws. The first Jaws, did you see first Jaws?
Oh, yeah,
Did you
absolutely.
enjoy it? I mean, it's...
I loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then they go to Jaws 2, Jaws 3. And the more they go along, the worse they
it
get.
gets.
You don't even want to look at them anymore. But I will watch Jaws 1 every time it's on.
Yeah.
Just love it. Or what's that other one? Halloween. Halloween 1. It's just... The first one's always the best.
Yeah, well, Halloween has fallen into the newest category of a multiversal franchise, which is pretty much what we are. I mean, the movies, the shorts, and the promo films, you put them together and they're one continuity. But our audio plays are different continuity, and our stage plays are different continuities. 3 different universes with the same characters, same actors, in some cases. But I mean, when they did the first movie, they told John he was crazy. He says, you're starring an unknown, you're doing a basic film and everything. No one's going to want to see this thing. And they gave him $3 million to make this film. And then they pulled funding when he wasn't finished. And he got a company to give him a few $100,000 so he could finish the film. And no one heard of Jamie Lee Curtis back then. They considered her just an unknown. Well, John was very smart. He took $10,000 to direct the film, edit it, and write the musical score. But he asked for a cut of the profits. Oh. And they told him, we'll be lucky if we get our money back. So, yeah, you can have your cut of the profits. Well, as we know, the movie took off. And to this day, they're still making sequels. And the second movie was basically part 2 of the first movie. Then when they thought they played it out, they decided to go with Season of the Witch, which was a big mistake because as fascinating as the story was, you never take a short story and drag it kicking and screaming to feature length.
Really?
You don't take 10 minutes to do something that should take a minute and a half. And you do not give everybody a cliffhanger ending. And you don't take out some of the best stuff, So that was a major disaster. I mean, it was supposed to be Halloween-themed movies every year, but after that disaster, if they had done like an anthology film, like 4 half-hour things like Tales from the Dark Side did,
I like that show.
Or the Twilight Zone did, then they would have had a better chance. But trying to do this, it just didn't work.
Yeah.
And that was supposed to be the end, but of course the check cleared. So 4, 5, and 6 were in their own timeline, and then 7 and 8 fell into the same timeline as 1 and 2. And then Rob Zombie did his own version of 2 films in a totally separate universe. Mm-hmm. And then we came back with Jamie Lee Curtis with 3 movies that were tied strictly to the first movie and ignored everything in between. Mm-hmm. So, in one version, Michael Myers is her brother. In another version, he's not. In one version, he's a supernatural creature. In another one, he's just a crazy guy wearing a mask. So, if you're gonna squeeze as much as you can out of your franchise, which is of course what I'm trying to do, we're gonna have the comic book, the cartoon, the novels all on the shelf, and we've been doing the web series, the audio plays, and the films for quite a while. So we've done the play once. So. And I'd really like to do some merchandising and maybe even have a game.
Oh, that would be nice.
A board game is what really defines you. Anyway, but you're not. When someone creates their own universe and creates their own franchise, yeah, they're going to do whatever they can to squeeze as much money out of it or as much creativity out of it as possible. I mean, if you look at Dan Curtis's Dark Shadows, now back in. Was it the late 60s, early 70s? It was the only soap opera it was a gothic soap opera that turned into a supernatural thriller with all kinds of things. It lasted for
right there.
1,284 episodes. And you had this character of Barnabas Collins that became so popular. Well, after the soap opera ended, he did a couple movies with the same characters. He recycled his stuff into 2 movies, House of Dark Shadows and Night of Dark Shadows, or is it? I think that's what the second one was called. And then a few years later, he did a nighttime soap opera TV series, which unfortunately only lasted half a season. I don't know why. It was so good. But, with Ben Cross playing Barnabas Collins, oh my God. But, and then, for a reason that I have no idea, it sat for several decades, and then he decided to do a comedic movie with Johnny Depp playing Barnabas Collins. I don't know why he did that. But most Dark Shadow people will say, no, we don't consider it canon. I mean, it's canon, but only in, each thing was in its own universe, its own timeline.
Right.
So the first 2 movies were a separate timeline, but in the same, well, actually no, because he combined characters. So I'd have to say all 4 attempts were 4 separate universes. Same characters, different versions of them. Mm-hmm. So, look at Star Wars. We started off with films, then we went into cartoons, live action TV shows, lots of games, even board games, video games, toys. They've done tons of novels and comic books, and since its debut in 1978, they have squeezed how many billions of dollars out of that franchise. And Star Trek can say the same thing. 12 TV shows, 13 theatrical films, and umpteen comic books, novels, video games, toys, So.
And here you get the Twilight Zone.
Now,
in
Twilight
black
Zone,
and white.
Yeah.
And it's still something that everybody wants to see. Do you like Twilight Zone?
Love it.
What about Alfred Hitchcock?
Yeah. Well, see, Twilight Zone,
Yeah.
Rod Serling was smart enough to tell the network, hands off. Let me have what I want to do.
Oh, okay.
And he did what he wanted to do. And for the only thing they gave him problems with was 4th season. They wanted it to be an hour long. He didn't want it. He didn't want the 4th season to be an hour long. Because if you look at most of the 4th season episodes, they're not very good. They have a good idea, but they're just way too dragged out. Mm-hmm. With those first 5 seasons, Rod Serling was a genius. I mean, at the end of the 5th season, he was over budget, and he still had 1 episode left to make.
Really?
He went to a film festival and saw a French short film called An Occurrence at Owl Creek Ridge, which had no dialogue. And he went to the guy and said, let me buy this and I'll put it on the Twilight Zone. And he paid $10,000 to this guy for this short film. And not only did he come in under budget, but to this day, it still remains in the syndication package. So that poor guy who only got $10,000, I feel bad for him.
Gee, I'm learning stuff today that I didn't even know about. Mm-hmm. All this these facts.
And then in the 80s, they brought Twilight Zone back for 2 seasons on the network. And they did all these really good stories and everything else. They redid a few old stories, some of them with different endings. Some of them, in the original show, they were a half hour. In the new show, they were 15 minutes. Because they did 15-minute shows, too, not just all half hours. And after 2 seasons, it didn't survive on the network anymore. So they put it in syndication for another season because it was the dawn of horror television in the 80s.
It was.
And so they tied the 3 seasons together, and for some reason, they're not seen very often anymore. I don't know why. They just aren't. That's still a mystery because some of them are just amazing. Mm-hmm. And then at the turn of the century, we decided to do another one with. There was the movie, and the movie took 4 episodes and did them with a bigger budget and a smarter writer, you know, and had it not been for the accident, it would have been perfect. But when one of your stars and 2 children die in an accident because you didn't do something, because you did something wrong, it tends to cause a problem. But that's a whole other story. So we have 2 series. We have the movie, and then in 2000 we have another series, which again was making not only remakes of original episodes but sequels. They remade Monsters Are Due on Maple Street, and instead of aliens, it was terrorists. And instead of electricity fun, they were worried about gas bombs. You know, it was a more modern version. Plus, they did a sequel to It's the Good Life, and they got Billy Mumy to come back and reprise his role. They got Cloris Leachman to come back and reprise her role, and they actually left you with an upbeat ending as opposed to the original story, and it just picked up on the same story 30 years later, whereas in the movie, when they remade it, they did the story completely different. Better, in my opinion, and Bill Mumy was in it, just playing a different character. But, you know, some of the episodes in the 2000 one, with Forrest Whitaker being the host, he did a great job. Nothing was his fault. But some of the stories just were bad. And then it sat for 2 centuries. I'm sorry, it seems like it. 2 decades. And we get 2 seasons worth of streamings. One that stars Rod Serling himself, even though he's been dead for 50 years.
He died young, didn't he?
He smoked too much. It was the cancer. It was the cancer that got him. But he was from close by, which is why you hear Buffalo and Western New York in a lot of the episodes. But the new Twilight Zone streaming service, 2 seasons, 20 episodes, I think. It was divided into 3 things. The really good episodes, the it's okay episodes, and the really, really bad episodes. And if you only got 20 episodes to work with and you can't do good stories, then forget it, you know? And you bring back one of the best villains from the original series, the Canamides, and do nothing with them. You know, what is the point, you know? So, like I said, there were maybe 3 to 6 episodes that were really, really good. The rest you could, you know, take out and burn. But it's a shame, you know. But when we're going to get... And they made a couple of scripts that... They did a special one year with a couple of scripts that Rod Serling had left behind that he didn't make. So they took them and decided to make them. Well, if you watch them, you understand why he didn't make them. So... He
was a genius, though. I mean, every week to make a series. Yeah. Every week.
Well, the anthology, sci-fi, horror, fantasy genre. Well, what was your favorite episode of the original series?
Of Twilight Zone?
Yeah.
The one where the girl gets up and she walks into the wall. She disappears behind the wall, and her mother comes in to find her. And she hears her, but she doesn't know where she is.
Little Girl Lost, one of the best episodes ever.
Was that the one I'm talking
Yes.
about? Oh, and the mother hears her, but doesn't know where she is?
And the father calls his friend, who's a physicist, and he comes over and helps him get the girl out and everything.
I loved it.
That was one of the best episodes of Twilight Zone. But if you look at the other dimension, it's actually I think, now I can't confirm this, but it's actually a warehouse indoor that they just threw a lot of lights on, you know? But if you listen to the girl's voice, the only time you actually hear the actress is after she's on screen. Everything before that, it's actually an adult actress trying to duplicate a little girl's voice, and it's obvious that it's not a little girl. But that doesn't take away from how good the episode is. Just like in The Bewitched Pool, there's a lot of it where the young actress who played Sport had a really thick accent, and they were having problems with the audio, and they didn't.
Yeah.
And when they realized it, they didn't want to fly her back and have her redo the lines, so they dubbed someone else in. So only the scenes indoors are actually the actress's voice. The ones outdoors and everything else are actually a dub over of an adult actress trying to do the voice. So, and that's why there's so much footage in there that's recycled, because there were so many problems with it. But it still remains one of the best episodes, I think.
I think what enthralled me is you have the actors and they're in the scene, and then all of a sudden the camera pans over and there's Rod Sterling talking about it. Just
I
maybe
always loved that.
3 feet away, and they would walk right out of the scene, and
Yeah.
there he is.
I always loved that.
I just thought that was really amazing how they did it.
Well, we're doing all the talking, Wayne.
Oh.
Do you have anything you want to add?
I am having a great time listening to you guys being excited about the stuff that you're excited
Did
about.
you watch Twilight Zone?
Yeah, I did.
What was your favorite episode of
I
classic Twilight Zone?
I don't have a favorite. They all just kind of mush together because didn't Jordan Peele host like a newer version?
Yeah,
of
that was
something?
the-
Oh, that
the
was one-
streaming
Oh,
version.
okay. All right.
What about
Yeah.
Alfred Hitchcock? Did you like him also?
Yeah,
the shows?
that was good times with Grandma times.
Really?
Yeah. After the soap
Brings back
operas.
memories.
Yeah.
Yeah, his
it was bad.
movies were great, and his shows. I've been watching more of them lately, and they're actually pretty good. But my favorite of his movie was Dial M for Murder, and he always knew how to give the good story and the twist ending and everything. So, yeah. An anthology show is very hard to do. You have to do a completely different thing every day and every week. And it's what led way to the 2 Man on the Road show, where you have the same 2 main characters or 3, and they're switching places, like being chased or whatever, like The Incredible Hulk. It was Bill Bixby, Lou Ferrigno, and Jack Colvin chasing each other across the country. Same thing with The Fugitive. It was Barry Morris and David Jansen being chased, and you'd have a different cast, a different location every week, and just interacting with these 2 characters, which means it wasn't a anthology. Quantum Leap, one of my favorite shows of all time, was meant to be a dramatic anthology, but the network wouldn't let him do it, so he created the most elaborate 2 Man on the Road show ever created, because you had the same 2 guys, but every week he was playing somebody else, and Al didn't Dean didn't really interact with anybody, except in certain cases. Dean didn't interact with anybody but Scott. So, they were smart enough to make his hologram solid, and there were times when, you see Dean actually moving away when he really shouldn't, because the person could just walk through him, but they wanted to save on the special effect, as opposed to Time Tracks, where they made the hologram of Selma transparent, so Dale and the actress who played Selma were never on the set together, except when she played a different character in one episode, and she would come and work blocking with him, but otherwise they were never acting together for 2 years. And it's a credit to both of them that they were able to pull it off.
And I think another thing is the fact that years ago we only had 2, 4, and 7, maybe 11 if you were lucky, and we all were zeroing in on the same show all the
Yeah.
time. You didn't have 500 shows to pick from. You only had certain
you had 3
ones.
networks.
Yeah.
You had syndication,
Yeah.
and you had PBS. That's all you had. And
Yeah.
then cable, and then internet, and now streaming, and now, I don't work a regular job, and I'm still way behind on television shows.
Oh my gosh, myself.
Yeah.
Do you like to watch TV?
I love it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have your certain shows that
I do.
Yeah.
what's your favorite?
Well, right now, I'm in the Dexter
I
multiverse.
Yeah.
Oh, I
and,
love that.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for the Resurrection to come up. Yellow Jackets was awesome. There's here and there. They're all different genres.
What a creative mind to say, here's Dexter. He kills people that are bad. It's like, who thinks of like that?
And his younger version.
Yeah.
That show. So
Oh,
good.
when he was little?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So good.
Yeah, he killed animals and things like that when he was young, and they knew that there was something wrong with him.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we've got about 40 seconds left, so I want to thank Wynn
Thank
for
you.
making her first appearance on the show, and I want to thank Terry. It's her first time co-hosting, and you did a wonderful job.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So I'm looking forward to filming more of the movies with you guys, and as you know, as any independent filmmaker who isn't paying their actors will say, thank you for the support, and all I can say is, everybody, be ready for the next couple of episodes of The Mighty Beyond that are going to be coming out. So, without further ado, take us away, Richard, and I hope you had a good Easter.
Yes. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.